Well, hi again. This is Mike Siver with Repairing Broken Adults, House Rules, Part 2. Now this is taking from Chapter 1 of my book, Why Did I Do That? And you'll see pictures of that up on the screen here shortly. We talked the last show about being consistent and having consequences for actions rather than punishment. And I talk a lot to young adults and young parents, or parents that want to become parents, about raising children. And just one option, I give them an option to it, and one option is that they set house rules. And amongst the things with house rules, the big thing to remember is they must be age appropriate. You can't have house rules for a 3-year-old and expect the 13-year-old to be comfortable with them, because it's not going to work. So your house rules need to change as the child gets older, and you have to be prepared for that. And if you've got the time and the patience, and you need to have as a parent, you sit down and you write down house rules 10 years ahead of time. Now they're going to change because times change and situations change. So, but you at least have a beginning of what to do. That makes a couple things happen. You may have a 6-year-old child and a 3-year-old child and maybe a 10-year-old child, or somewhere in that range. The 6-year-old is going to look ahead and see, well, when I get to be 9, because that's what my sister or brother can do these things, well, I can't wait till I get to be 9, because then I can do that. They're learning there's a thing they have to wait for. There's time when things happen. If you can teach that without beating it into their heads, you've accomplished one big step. For children to look ahead and say, well, I can do that when I get to be that age, and then they change again as the older child gets older, the rules change, and to them they're going to appear to become more lax. So I can do more things the older I get, providing I live that long, and I don't do something for my parents who want to wring my neck. Part of the other thing that you teach children is that they earn things and they lose things. You don't punish them. There's not reward and punishment, reward and punishment, reward and punishment. That's sort of like for a dog. But children need to understand they earn the right to do things and they lose the right to do things. Now, when a child breaks one of the house rules that's on the refrigerator or on their bedroom door or wherever you decide to put it for public view, then they know if they violate that rule, they're going to lose the right to do something, whatever that might be in your home. But if they do all those things correctly for a week or whatever time frame your house says, then they earn extra things. But they don't just get them for being alive and breathing and not dying during that day. They earn the right to do things, they lose the right to do things. You're not there to be the punisher. You're there to monitor their behavior as an adult. But you also have to be the enforcer. And there's a difference. Don't consider yourself or don't let yourself be called the punisher when you're only the enforcer of the rules. They need to understand that the policemen out there on the street are also the enforcer of the rules. You can go about your life daily and never have any problems at all as long as you stay within the boundaries of the laws and rules established by society. The police force out there, children need to understand, only represent society. You as an individual put your money in the bank and it's kept safe there and it grows with interest if you do certain things with it. It's a way to keep your money and not have it in your home. That's safer in the bank, supposed to be anyway. But if you decide to go take that money out of the bank and it's not yours, rob the bank in other words, then the policemen represent society to apprehend you, and then you will get the consequences for your actions, or you will lose a lot of freedoms that you normally have. Now, for anybody that's been in jail, you know, and I know, the worst sound you ever hear, I think in your life, is the closing of that cell door, and it won't open again by you. Somebody else has to open it. You can never get out. That sound, that clang, and different cells make different sounds, but you'll never forget it. I've never forgotten it. And you think about it, it sinks in. That's a horrible sound to hear. But it was all for consequences of my actions and consequences of someone else's actions that got them in there. I lost my privileges as a member of society for my behavior. Now, I gained those privileges back and have not lost them since because I didn't like the consequences of my actions. So I had to learn to accept the fact that I'm not the boss of everything. I'm just the boss of me. And if I want to stay the boss of me, then I have to live within society's rules, which are a glorified version of house rules. So we go back to house rules again. House rules establish so much in a child's life and tells them so much that it's going to be hard to cover in this show, and we might even do another show and have a guest on here. Now, speaking of guests, I'm going to diverse here for a second. If anybody watching this show wants to come on and talk about things that I'm talking about, or challenge me on some of the stuff that I'm talking about, please feel free. The email's on there. Contact me, and you're more than welcome to come on. We get guests come on every now and then that either agree or disagree or have learned something from what I've been trying to explain to people. That makes me feel good, but I'm not here just to make myself feel good. I'm here to help. So I'm hoping we can do that. What we have to learn is that we have such an influence on young people that we really don't understand it. And what I've been trying to do and have done for years is help parents, young people, young parents, and even some older parents with teens that are maybe a little out of focus, that they have to earn privileges and lose privileges. I used to run some juvenile programs, and they had in there what they call a token economy. For every day that you didn't challenge the staff or punch another kid or do something inappropriate against our society rules, in the house rules, in the building, or on the property, on the grounds, or whatever, then you got an economy. You got bonus points. You earned points. The more points you earned, the quicker you could get out of the program. But the problem they had, and they used to admit it, was they have to be good to get out. They can't just be the same old person. So if we can have them practice an established behavior, a positive behavior, for a certain many months, maybe a year or 2 years, practice, 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 that becomes a behavior. Once you become a new behavior, a lot of times, and not all times, but most times, that's transferable from one location to another location, which means from inside the facility to outside the facility. The same gets back to house rules. If parents can establish house rules, and they don't have to be great and detailed, you know, the younger they are, they don't have to be so specific. Be general rules, and we can sit down and break up the rules if we get together, or you and I, and talk about your family, because every family is different. The same rules are not going to apply for every family. Bedtimes are different sometimes. They should all be pretty close for children's ages, just depending what they do. It goes with schoolwork, and as the child gets older, different people have different ideas about what should be allowed in their home or not. So I can't sit here and say this rule is good for everybody. All I'm saying is there are guidelines, and house rules is the basic guideline to start with young children to establish an appropriate behavior that will get them consequences. They learn consequences are not all negative, some are very positive. If you watch your child, consciously trying not to break the rules, and they have a good day, a good week, or whatever it takes for them, if you and dad or dad and mom decide, we're going to surprise them, they've been good for a long time. Let's just take them out to a park, or take them out to a dinner, or take them out to somewhere they want to go for no reason whatsoever except they've been good. Can you imagine the positive aspect that that's going to have on them? They're going to wait and try and do that again. And they're going to want to do it again. And without physical punishment, you've established a set of behaviors that's going to make them or help them become appropriate. I can't say make them, you can't make them do anything. But help them understand the policy of rules. And once we establish the rules, and maybe that's a harsh word because we've all got rules. I mean, that's the way they are. The rules in our house, part of the rules in our house were every time you left a room, if there was no one in it, you turned the light off. Because the consequences of that is a higher electric bill. So every time, I still do that to this day. Every time I leave a room, I turn the light off. Does that annoy my wife sometimes because she's going to walk into a room and turn the light back on? Yeah, but that's what we do. So those are small rules that help you with your life in the future. You know, I don't know how many people you walk into a home and all the people, 2 or 3, how many's in the family, are all sitting in one room, but every light in the house is on. Bedroom lights, kitchen lights, basement lights if they have a basement. Every light in the house is on, and they're all in one room. What's the point? Where's the common sense in that? It's because there aren't any boundaries, there aren't any rules. And children don't really care. They're not paying the electric bill. Mom and dad are. So if mom and dad are paying the electric bill, why are they letting children leave the lights on? It's a house rule. Bring it back to house rules. You go from the basic stuff to that and explain to them why. Then they're going to be conscious of that. They're going to tell their other friends, well, when you leave your room, why don't you turn your light off? Well, mom and dad never said anything. Well, you know, this happens if you leave the light on, the electric bill goes up, and your mom and dad got to pay more money. And next thing, they're taking their house rules in their home and trying to transfer them into somebody else's house in their room. Is that a good thing? Of course it is. But some parents don't have, and a lot of parents today don't have that. I was under a lot of house rules, and my sisters, there was 7 of us and a single mom. So there was a lot of rules in our house because she couldn't monitor all of us at one time. So we had a set of rules, and it worked. Did I fray from that when I got older? Of course I did, and it got me in a lot of trouble for it too. Then I started to think back about the rules that she had. Thought, wow, if I just obeyed some of these rules, I wouldn't be in jail. I'd be fine. So house rules, I think, are the basic fundamental building blocks for young parents to start raising their children. Does it take a little effort? Yes, it does. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy because it isn't. But it's the building blocks to start and establish, first of all, them listening, looking, understanding fairness. And we talk about that with parents on a previous show, and we can talk about it again later, about parents being firm, fair, and consistent. Consistency is the key. Firmness and fairness is important, but consistency, they know where they stand. Children like to know where they stand. They don't want to be confused all the time. If I do this time, last time I got punished for it, this time I didn't. What's right and what's wrong? Firm, fair, and consistent. Have consequences for actions. Forget the words punishment. They earn, they lose. They can earn back or they can lose again. They have to learn a lot of their choices. It's their choices. We're here to monitor them, not to police them, not to be the punisher. So I'm looking for people that want to come on and talk about that. Also, there'll be other shows starting next week. There'll be another couple shows on a different part of raising children, because that's what I believe is the key to everything. With that, I want to thank you very much for listening and watching. Please come on the show. Thank you.